Hey, it's Rebecca, and you're listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I'm going to talk about mindset and the power of the pivot. So many of us right now, including myself, have seriously considered what direction we can take our business in because, well, let's face it, this pandemic is dragging on, and sometimes business as usual, it's just not usual. So I want to talk about a few things in this podcast. And right now I am huddled under a blanket in my office because I can't record where I typically record. So I hope the sound quality is A-okay for you guys. I'm going to talk about confidence and what gives you confidence and what you can do to have that confidence, to make a pivot or make some big decisions in your life. It comes down to mindset, a lot of it, and I'm going to share what I think is a dirty little S word. So here we go.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
All right. From under the blanket in my office, oh my God, I can't talk. In my office, here comes my heartfelt discussion on the power of the pivot and what you can do to possibly pivot yourself. It's no secret that right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic, I launched this podcast. Not only did I launch this podcast, I also launched a course for designers. It was called Momentum. It was amazing, and it's coming back again this summer. But that was a big shift for me because it was totally different than my design business. Like, honestly, guys, I have spent my career hustling and trying to grow this big design business with all this staff and trying to be, I don't know, I guess just like a big name in the Toronto design industry, getting published, doing the speaking events. And the more sort of caught up I became in that hamster wheel, the more I think I lost sight a little bit of what my own personal core values were and where I saw my future. So I really want to dive into this idea of, we're going to get to the pivot in a minute. But before we can get to the idea of the pivot, I want to talk about mindset, and we're going to talk about what gives you confidence, because I think it really all comes down to having confidence. It's something that, throughout my entire life, I haven't always had confidence. I've been pretty insecure, I'm not going to lie. Scared to speak up for myself, scared to make a move or make a decision for fear that it's the wrong one. That's that perfectionist tendency in me. And I recently heard, I think it was Gary V. If anyone doesn't know who he is, Gary Vaynerchuk is like the social media god. But anyhow, he said that perfectionism is just a fancy word for insecurity. And I that really resonated with me because I thought about it and I was like, I don't think that's true. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized that, oh yeah, like if I think about that, my need to have it perfect is a fear that if I don't get it right, others will judge me or that it won't be good enough. So the fear that if I don't make that perfect designed room, someone will see. I'm afraid, which ultimately means insecure. And I know a lot of artists just happen to be perfectionists because we do want it to be perfect. But I always say it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to start. So sometimes I find I'm at odds with what I tell myself and I tell everyone that I believe, which I do, and you see it in my actions because I do tend to just put things out into the world when they're not perfect. But it does go against that perfectionist in me, that the idea that I need things to be perfect. And it really is that insecurity that if I don't get it right, something bad will happen. If this resonates with you, I'd love for you to to think about what can you do? Because obviously we can't all just eliminate that need for perfection or that insecurity, but possibly we can work with it and try hard to just push ourselves a little bit to put things out into the world. You know, it's hard to make a pivot if you're constantly worried about everything being perfect. You're going to run out of time. You're not going to get that thing out into the world, whether it's a new service, maybe it's a new business, maybe it's moving houses. I don't know what that is for you, but you're not going to pivot if you feel insecure in your decision. So pivoting is going to come from confidence, because once you have some confidence, maybe you'll put yourself forward and not worry about being perfect. So I'm going to walk you through the 4 things that I really believe have given me confidence. So, hey, if this isn't for you, I get it. We're all made differently. We all come from a different background. This blanket is caving in on me and I feel like I can't breathe. Frick. My gosh, the things I do for a podcast. See, this is certainly not perfect. Far from it. And you know what? I might get judged. Well, that's fine. Okay. These are the things that that have given me confidence over the years and have given me. Now, I'm not 100% confident all the time. My golly, no way. But these are the things that have helped me. So hopefully, honestly, I hope that by sharing what's helped me, it will help you maybe reevaluate where you're at. And hopefully some of these will help you too. So the first thing that I think gives you confidence, and this is not something you can fake, is experience. Experience will just make you more confident. Just think about any skill set that you have now. Like if you are an interior designer, when you first started, you were probably not very confident that you could do the job. But with every job that you do, people start praising you. You start to think, wow, that does look good. I do know what I'm doing. And over time, you feel confident in that skill set because you have experience. Now, I feel like this is an important one to list, because even though you can't just fake it and get it overnight, it is certainly something that's encouraging to know that if you just keep at it, you will start to get that confidence. The more you do something, the better you will get. And if you don't get better, then maybe you need to pivot and find something else. But reality is, no one is going to be perfect overnight. And in my recent podcast interview with Michelle Bennett, actually, it was interesting. She talked about this idea that, I think it was a quote, and you know me with quotes. I don't know. I'm going to paraphrase somebody else paraphrasing a quote. But basically what she said was, it was a quote about being an artist and how the artist is always disappointed with their own work because we have this drive for perfectionism. And she said for her, hearing that quote was really actually comforting to know that she's still in the early stages of her career and of her experience as an artist. And that, with time, it will get better. So if that's you, if you feel like you're just starting out and you're disappointed by your work, it's not living up to your tastes or your standards, or you don't think that you're doing a good enough job, just keep at it, because the more experience you get doing that one thing, the more confidence you will have. I can tell you, public speaking for me, wow, was I a nervous wreck the first few times I did it. And you know what? Sometimes I still do get nervous, but the more I do it, the easier it gets. The more practice I get speaking, the better I get at articulating my points. I still can't say a freaking expression if my life depended on it, but maybe one day I will. Okay, so that was the first point. The second way that I have built confidence is truthfully, by having repeatable systems, repeatable ways of doing things, specifically when it comes to my interior design business. So I will tell you that when it came to pricing a job and trying to get a client on board, oh man, I did not have confidence to say a number. I didn't have confidence to charge more money. I didn't have confidence to tell them what they could expect. I couldn't confidently tell them I'd be on budget. I couldn't confidently guarantee. I didn't really even have confidence that I could do it. Like I knew I could do it, but I wasn't confident. And so once I established a process, I know I talk about this, but it's the reason I talk about this all the time is because it is so true and so powerful. You can ask any of my friends in my circle who've watched me go through this, but as soon as I started doing things the same way every time, having it on paper, having the team behind me that followed these steps, it gave me so much more confidence. I felt professional. So it's like, okay, so I want to give you guys another example because I know I talk about process in your business all the time. You're probably so sick of hearing me talk about it. I have a course. It's coming out again because I'm so passionate about it. The power of process. Process is powerful, which is why I named the course Power of Process. But seriously, let's talk about this podcast, for example. When I first started the podcast, I was like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. I was very stressed out. I recorded an episode. The sound quality was just okay. I didn't know how to edit it. Vera and I were trying to figure it out. And then I decided, you know what? There's got to be a better way to do this, the better system. So Vera and I sat down and I'm like, let's just hire an external company to do the edits. Let's batch when we record. So we'll pick a few days a month where we sit down and record a few podcasts and a few guests so that it's not a constant running to catch up on the podcast. And then our guests will know ahead of time when it's coming out. I'll know ahead of time. I'll have the confidence to start promoting and talk about it to people. And so we sat down and we now have a system. Our system is, we plan ahead we usually plan only 3 months ahead, which may sound like a lot, which may not sound like a lot, but our process is really straightforward. It's really easy to follow. It gives me faith and confidence that the podcast is going to go out on time. We upload as soon as we've recorded. We have our sponsored ad. We have our intros, our outros. Everything's recorded, and we upload it to the company's website. They're in the US, and they edit it, and they do it always in the same turnaround time. It's like a few days, which is perfect for us. We get it set up in the queue, and oh my goodness, it's made podcasting so much more fun. It is not a burden. It's something I look forward to because I know that we have a system in place to make it happen. So establishing a process for things gives you confidence. The one area I will tell you that I still am working on is my family and home life. I feel like I've done such a good job setting up these processes and systems in my business, whether it's the coaching side of things or the design side of things. But when it comes to actually doing this for my personal life, that's where I fall flat. So I'm working at it, but I always get frustrated because we don't have the meals planned or prepared. There's things aren't getting done around the house because I need to sit down and set up a system where I say hey, Sunday nights we meal plan. And I know a lot of people who do this. So that is one really strong way to give and build your confidence. The next way, it's simple enough. Trust your gut. This one, if I find very difficult, and I think I've talked about it on this podcast. I know I've talked about it before, but trusting your gut, it's such a funny thing. And I don't know if it's women. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I think it is women. I think that women specifically have a harder time trusting our gut because I think that we're taught from a young age to not trust it. I don't know. This is some deep work that I'm still diving into, but I think this idea behind as a little girl, you may have been told, don't behave this way, be good, be like that. And so even though your instinct might tell you to speak up or do something, the societal, not even just I'm not trying to blame anyone's parents. I think it's society. I think it's our North American culture. And I think it's changing. But as a result, I know I have struggled over the years to trust my gut. The times you trust your gut, and I just had this conversation with a designer recently who's decided to make a big change in her business, and even though it's hard, is that sometimes you have to trust your gut even when you don't like what it's telling you. Sometimes you have to trust your gut even when you don't like what it's telling you. Because deep down, we have the solutions. We have the answers within ourselves. And this is something that I'm really working on because I don't do this enough. And I'm really trying to tap into what is the answer. the answers are built in. Like you have all the answers to all the decisions in your life, to all the things you want or need to do. Those answers are built in. But sometimes we struggle to listen to that. Instead, and especially as females, we tend to poll the audience. We ask our friends, well, what do you think? You weigh the pros, you weigh the cons. You ask your family, you ask your partner, you ask your employees, you ask your boss, you ask the internet, right? How many times have you Googled something? Because you can't, I don't know. When should I stop breastfeeding? Like, what do you think? You need to listen to what your body tells you. And this is really a lot easier said than done. But it's something that will help you feel confident in your decisions. And when you're confident in your decisions, making a pivot or making a change in your life is going to be a heck of a lot easier and very rewarding. Okay, the last tip or point that I have that has really helped me with confidence is to reframe your mindset. So let me explain what I mean by this. By reframing your mindset, it is focusing on what you want to do, not what you should do. Should is this swear word. It's what I like to call the S word. And this concept was first brought up to me by my business coach, Ariel. And then since I've started hearing other people talk about it, and it's like this, stop shoulding. She used to say, stop shoulding on yourself. And she'd like wipe the like bird shit off her shoulder, like stop shoulding on yourself. And so now I really catch myself. Anytime you're looking over your shoulder at what other people are doing, stop. Because as soon as you look over your shoulder at what other people are doing, you are inevitably going to think, maybe I should do that, right? Hey, guys, I still do this. I'm not telling you that I've got it all figured out, but I know that that I want to stop doing this. And this applies to everything in life, like exercise, like, I should go for a walk. Oh man, I really should have a stronger team. Oh, I really should have more money in the bank. Man, I should be picking my son up from school every day. Do you hear how every single time I use that word in a sentence, it's a judgment on myself? Like I'm judging myself. And then after I say it out loud, I'm like, ooh. And then I literally, as I said those just now, my shoulders got heavy. It's like, oh man, I say like a lot. I feel as though I'm living in the 1990s. Is this clueless? Rebecca, you guys need to keep me in line. I'm going to eliminate should and the word like apparently from my vocabulary. Every time I say the word should, in the reference to me that I should do something, it makes me judge myself and feel inadequate. And there's no way that someone who feels inadequate is going to feel confident. It's just plain math. You know what I mean? So stop shitting on yourself. If I say that really quickly, stop shitting on yourself. That sounds really bad. I said stop shitting on yourself so that you can start to listen to your gut. Set yourself up for success and be confident. And once you feel a little bit of confidence, then you will want to make those changes that you know you're ready to do. So those are the areas that I think can very naturally give you confidence. Now I want to talk about this idea of the pivot, because once you feel more confident, whether it's through experience or having, established processes in your life, whether it's in your work or your family life, and you start to reframe your mindset and listen to your gut, you will understand where you need to go. I recently did this exercise with Andrea Freeman, and it was about finding out what my core values were. And what I think is really interesting about the exercise is that when she said it, I was like, yeah, I've done this. Yeah, our company core values are, work hard, live well, teamwork. And she's like, no. What are your personal core values? And I'm like, oh, well, shoot. I don't know. I think I should know. Okay, I'll stop shooting. But honestly, I was like, that's really interesting. And so when I had that time to reflect, I realized that my core values are connection and joy. And these are things that I need to find in my everyday life. And when I really looked at what I was doing, the things that brought me most connection and joy were from the pivot I made in the pandemic. And I had the confidence to make that pivot because, to be quite frank, as soon as all that noise shut down for me and I was working from home, I wasn't doing all this PR work that I'd previously been doing, and the projects kind of slowed, I was able to just kind of focus in on some of the fun things I wanted to do, like a podcast. So I tuned out the noise, stopped looking over my shoulder, and just started to do. And then from doing, I started to get momentum. And then when Andrea asked me what my personal core values were, and I sort of figured them out, and I went through a whole bunch of different words, then I realized, oh boy, this is the stuff I'm doing that's bringing me joy. I love connecting with people. This podcast allows me to do it on a greater scale than design work. I still love being connected. I love bringing joy to people in their homes, but I don't love the day-to-day, the running around. Okay, so I need to rely on my team to do more of that. Okay, how can I rejig all of this? How can I move all these puzzle pieces around? Okay, what is the pivot? It might not be something as drastic as what I've done, but maybe you want to start offering something different that other designers aren't offering. Maybe you're a home stager and you want to get into decorating. And you think, wow, I really would like to be a little bit more creative. I'd love the opportunity to do some custom furniture. How can I make that happen? What I think it comes down to is if you want to make a pivot and you're scared, take a step back. Think about what do you value most in life? What are your core personal values? And then think about whether or not what you're doing is bringing that to the forefront. For me, I realized the purpose of my life is to bring connection, inspiration, and joy to people. And so the way I do that is not only through design, but it's through coaching. It's through designer meetups. It's through podcasts. It's through talking and sharing and helping, right? All right. Those are my words of wisdom for y'all today. I'm really curious if anyone has spent any time doing a pivot or considering making some changes in their business. I would love to hear from you. Please, if you're not already a member of our free private Facebook group, please come and join it. It's called Designer Meetups. It's on Facebook, and it's a great forum for designers to really share what they're going through, ask questions. I'm in there regularly. We also have regularly scheduled meetups that are virtual via Zoom, which is an opportunity for like-minded design professionals to share their ideas, get feedback from others, and kind of nice to see where people are at. The thing about the group is no hoity-toities allowed. It is a space for collaboration and sharing and being authentic and true to yourself. It is not a space for people to come in and make themselves look better than the next person or judge. There's no judgment. No, thank you. Because I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are thinking, how can I change? Can I add? I know even for us, we're looking at how we can offer a service that's more accessible. As much as I love the full service design, there's a lot of people who reach out to us who can't afford it, but still want our help. So I'm trying to look at what can we do? And it's not going to be e-design, even though that's what I look over my shoulder and I see everyone's doing. But how can I offer our services to that clientele that fits with us and our core values? Anyhow, I don't have the answer yet. We're almost there. I'll let you know. But just take some time, reflect. You got this, guys. I'll be right back at you next week with a brand new podcast interview. So stay tuned for that.